Welcome back to the Bourbon Note, everybody. I'm Ben. Here we go with the laser codes again. So on the bar tonight, I've got, bam, this is Russell's Reserve 10-year LLME. So apparently what makes this one special is that some of the whiskey that's in this batch with this laser code was right around the same time as when the Russell's 15 was bottled, and I believe people thought that there was 15-year whiskey in this. I think it has been disproven that there's actually 15-year bourbon in this blend, but apparently there is some older age stock in there, so obviously between 10 and 15 years old. To be perfectly honest, I haven't followed this story too much. I probably should have before getting on here and doing a review of this. But to be honest, I'm just going to review this as a standalone bourbon. I don't have another bottle of this to compare it to a non-LLME. Might do that in the future, but I just picked this up because I wanted to have one on the shelf. Didn't feel like picking up a second bottle just to do that video, but at some point in the future. That being said, I have heard really, really good things from a lot of people about this particular laser code. I'm just going to say batch, because that's kind of what it is, I guess. Bottling, batching, whatever. But yeah, so apparently it's supposed to have some of the better barrels that maybe weren't 15 years old, that didn't make it into the Russell's 15, and you know they made it into this one. So let's get into it on the nose here. Super, super rich and bold. I like the Russell's 10-year to begin with, but I honestly have not had it in quite a while. And this is great on the nose so far. Very oak forward. It does come across as an older age whiskey. If I didn't know what this was, I would definitely guess it was well aged. Even more so than the 10. Nice cinnamon note. It has the caramels, but to be honest, it's more cinnamon and brown sugar forward and oak. On the nose, maybe a very light citrus. Well, let's get into the palate. Cheers. So, I remember liking Russell's 10. I do not remember it being this good. This is really good. And by the way, I paid 35 bucks for this. 35 to 40 is kind of the going rate around my area. At $35, just based off that first sip, this is a hell yeah, possibly back it up. It comes across as a premium bourbon. I mean, it really does. It has those really dark and rich notes that, again, you get off of more of a well-aged bourbon. It's got a nice mouthfeel to it. The 90 proof is not too low on this. I mean, I like things higher than 90 proof, but I don't think that this comes across as watered down or thin. It would definitely be great at a higher proof, but I think any bourbon drinker could enjoy this. It's got just such rich and bold flavors for the 90 proof. Let's go in for another sip here. I gotta examine this one a little further. So now that I'm getting into this a little bit more, I do think I have to pick up another bottle of the non-LLME laser code and do a comparison, because this is really coming across as a very, very well-rounded, borderline premium level bourbon. It's got a nice mouthfeel to it, but it's not overly viscous, you know, but it's got a decent mouthfeel to it. But the flavors are very, very thick. And the flavors are kind of that, you know, they remind me of the flavors that I've had on very well-aged, again, I hate to repeat myself, but premium level bourbons. You know how there's sometimes a difference you can tell, like it's in the overall experience of the bourbon just comes across as a little more top tier. And this is knocking on the door of that for sure. If you like the Wild Turkey profile, this is all the good things about Wild Turkey and none of, at least to me, none of what I've heard bad things about Wild Turkey. I'm a Wild Turkey fan, so I don't think there's anything bad about it, but I know some people kind of get a funk from Wild Turkey. No funk to be had on this one. Then again, I don't really notice it on the other ones either, so maybe I'm not the best person to listen to on that, but yeah, this is great. Let's go in for the last sip here. So on that last sip, it's gotten, since the first sip through to the end of the glass here, it's gotten a little more astringent. Some of those drying and tannic oak notes are coming out a little bit more, kind of throughout the whole palate, and especially on the finish. Not necessarily in a bad way, but that oak is really, really coming through. The sweetness has kind of died down a little bit on it. But overall, this is great. I'm definitely gonna enjoy having this one on the shelf. This is probably gonna be my sort of regular go-to sipper. You know, sometimes it's good to have that lower proof one so you can sit and have a couple of them and not, you know, just get too hammered. So this is gonna be really, really good for that. And at the 35 bucks, 100% definitely worth a shot. Even at the 40 bucks, if you haven't had the LLME and you're curious about it, again, I don't recall the other Russells being quite as good as this one. But again, it's been a while since I've had one. So, you know, you'll have to take somebody else's word for it as to whether or not, you know, a side-by-side comparison, how this turns out, because I just don't have another bottle of it, but might have to pick one up now that this one was as good as it was. So anyway, hey, let me know in the comments, have you had this one? Have you compared it to the other one? By the way, I guess I didn't mention, for those of you that don't know, the laser code is, it's hard to see, but it's on the bottom right where, God, now I can't even find it. The lighting in here is not the greatest. But you can find it right at near the bottom of the bottle, etched in there. I'm not gonna go through like what the laser code means, because to be honest, I don't know. There's ways that you can decipher it. There's stuff you can find online on how to read it, but just look for the one that says LL/ME, and apparently that's the way to go. So that's what this one is. Again, let me know if you guys have had it, what your experience has been. This has been Russell's Reserve 10-year laser code LLME edition on the Bourbon Note. I'm Ben. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you in the next one.